Well, we are going to South Africa, even if we're in Nigeria here. We're going to be looking at the political development in South Africa, whereby a coalition government has been formed. And of course, a lot of persons are still expressing their reservations and of course, support for the way South Africa has decided to form a government this time. Well, we are talking about the African National Congress joining other political parties to ensure that they come together and the president emerged. Just about some few days ago, we saw Cyril Ramaphosa being sworn in as another president in South Africa. Well, the questions are, what are the changes that this coalition will bring? We understand that South Africa has been going through a lot of issues. You talk about xenophobic attack in South Africa. And of course, you talk about a series of corruption issues known in South Africa, most especially the one that Cyril Ramaphosa had to go through some few years ago. So all these are the issues that a lot of persons are concerned about in South Africa. Now that they have a coalition government, will all these narratives change? Is what we're going to be looking at today on the program, Africa Discourse. Well, to discuss all this today, we are so privileged to have Barrister Patrick Awosaige. So you're welcome to the program, Africa Discourse.
Thank you for having me.
And also we have the Syria author and the international resolution, expert, conflict resolution expert, Nowita Igbotake. Nowita, a very good afternoon to you.
Pleasure.
You're welcome.
To be here.
All right. Now, Barrister Osaige, I know that you've been to South Africa a couple of times. Now, what is your immediate response to this recent political development in South Africa, coalition government in South Africa, perhaps the very first time that we are seeing that for quite a long time in the history of South Africa?
Thank you very much. The coalition government, as it were, it's not what we should consider bad in essence, because when you speak of the coalition, it speaks of political parties that have come together with their various ideologies, coming to try to merge them together and see how they can find a good nexus for expression in politics, as it were, and leadership. I think, in my opinion, although a professor had said, a Cape Town professor, Perry, has said that coalition in that light is good on paper, but in real terms, become tormentors, troublesome for those that will want to sail through the whole process. Looking at the way it is now, it's a two-way thing. It's both a blessing and somewhat seeming like a cause in other end, because it's like bringing two forces to the middle, and that's going to be an equivalent task because it's not going to be easy for them. Taking a critical look at what the ANC had stood for close to 3 decades there about now, 3 decades now, they have had sway over time, and it's always been. And I've seen the times of Mandela as president being the very first president that opened it up. There was this call of let's come together, we are all South Africans, we should forget about what color you are, whether black, white, or whatever you are, we won. But these other political parties don't seem to see it in that light. But he had done his bits and he's gone. And again, we have seen the ANC not really paying much attention to this issue of racial issues that border on the black man having to be, I wouldn't use the word as precise, from certain region, because in South Africa, the kind of racial discrimination there is off the roof. Because I remember one of my colleagues was trying to, that's the Manesi Square somewhere, where to, and Johannesburg, where to have a picture. A little baby, she walked, a white child, she ran to us, not to me particular, my friend. We were having pictures, snapshots, and all of that. And the girl ran, the mother yanked her off immediately. We're wondering, what's this? Just a photograph.
A black mother
a white. We are blacks. Okay. We are black, obviously.
Yeah.
The baby ran to us. She liked us.
A white baby.
A white baby, a white girl, toddler, wanted to be in the picture. But the mom pulled her away. It's so terrible in that light, and we were wondering. And that's how the blacks have lived over time. And you could see this xenophobic attack talking about our jobs are taken away, and the blacks over there are undermined to a great extent. We cannot wish that. We can't pretend about that. You see them, they are not confident of themselves. They feel they are subservient to the white. And then you see these subtle activism like you likes of Julius Malema and other pockets of people trying to say, it's our land, it's our land. But again, you have not created the platform for them to come up. I think that's where the ANC over time had not really done too well, in the sense of trying to impact on the black, so to say. I'm not talking racial now, I'm talking about those that are less privileged in that sense.
Yeah.
They should be given, you know, some good opportunity. I remember watching television then, and then I could see that they were protesting. You see little kids picking up drugs, injecting themselves on the streets, and this is bad. You won't find white kids doing that. So these are some of the issues. How will Cyril Ramaphosa merge all of this together, trying to ensure that there's equality, you know, and like, what's his name? Julius Malema, you know, I'll be vocal about that and all he has said. So these are the very, very many issues and many more that he will be having to do with, because you're going to sign the document as a lawyer, and I know what it means to have a pre-arrangement and some conditions attached to it. It's not a signing of a paper. I know people will say, well, is the president? I agree, but it's not going to be that easy. You're going to be creating problem. Okay, when there are issues, for instance, of somebody having to do with a black community demanding for XYZ, and then you said, well, I need to make consultation. And those guys say, we are with you. Let's get busy. And you say, no, my people are saying no. So how will you navigate through? I think that is a big, big issue we should be looking at.
Okay. Now, Nowichai Butako, looking at South Africa, I mean, the other day we saw them celebrating 30 years after apartheid, post-apartheid era and all that. And the issues are still there, even if we may not be talking about apartheid anymore in South Africa, but we still have lots of issues of racial discrimination that gave rise to xenophobic issues very recently and all that. Now, all these are narrowed down to one political party, the ANC, that has held sway for the past 30 years now. But the ANC this time had to form a coalition with more than 2-3 political parties to remain in government. Now, this coalition now, from your own response, what does it mean to the political integrity of the ANC in South Africa?
Well, the coalition, I call it a blow. It's a terrible blow to the prestige of African National Congress. How could you have ruled for 3 decades, 30 years? We are still talking of what my colleague just said. The white are still dominating. The Democratic Alliance, the second, there are 2 seconds in the election that just had, is a major factor in the coalition. And the Democratic Alliance, they are pushing for an economy controlled by whites. Till tomorrow. Is that not a minus for African National Congress? So for me, it's a tea, it's a storm in a teacup. I don't see Cyril Ramaphosa surviving. I see crisis coming up, because you need to see the marathon negotiations, you know, that came to play.
They are alleged bribing, negotiations.
Phone calls at the dead of night.
Yeah.
Concessions that will not even go well with the blacks on the street. He says a lawyer. I had international relations. Documents are signed, and in most cases, they don't reflect on the ordinary people on the street. Cyril Ramaphosa is a desperate politician. He wanted to survive. And he has survived, but I don't see changes. I see crashes coming up, because the Democratic Alliance, they are now, Cyril Ramaphosa cannot even enjoy a veto. It is the coalition that will decide certain things for him. That is part of the terms.
And part of the things that he stands to suffer.
Yeah. Unlike before, when he has a veto power for 30 years, it's unfortunate that the DA is still controlling the economy in South Africa. The whites, they're still dominant. They just sell the blacks hanging around the street, drug addiction, poverty and things like that. What has happened in 30 years? for me, it's a vote of no confidence. And we must give kudos to Zuma. Zuma has played a role, despite his shortcomings, that as a politician, you don't allow yourself to be put down. You must go organize. It's a challenge to Nigerian politicians. It was Zuma parties, way, that destroyed the image of the African National Congress. Before we used to have 50%, 60% in parliament. Now 40%.
41%.
41%.
Yeah.
Then the day has 2021. For me, if Cyril Ramaphosa could not take the South African economy from the woods in first term, when there was no coalition agreement, when there was no marathon negotiation and concessions, is it now under a coalition government 3 decades after that Ramaphosa will now rule positively? When I say positively, talking about the majority in South Africa. When you're talking of democracy, it's not according to Abraham Lincoln. I get to Bob address. The government for the people, for the people of the people. And the blacks, they remain dominant. They remain dominant. They are the majority. So he has lived in South Africa. But part of what we learn in school and by part of what we do, we know that in that country, the blacks are not yet Uhuru. 30 years after, it's unfortunate.
Okay, now
so I don't see extraordinary thing happening. I see the coalition ding dong. I see them struggling, and I'm afraid a vote of confidence. let me not go there.
Yeah, but before we go there, let us not postulate negatively now.
As analysts, given our background, I'm a conflict resolution expert. These are reality. Okay, but Patrick I wanted to give us an insight how you think the ANC will survive. Because we know that there have been terms of agreements have been reached, just as what Nowita Ibutakoso said. In the twilight of that election, when the results were being collated and all that, we saw that the ANC was not going to survive, except they had to reach out to other political parties to reach some agreements and all that. As it stands now, the ANC does not have a majority. And of course, that's a big threat for them in this South African parliament. So looking at the survival of the ANC in the present government in South Africa, Barrister Osaige.
Thank you very much. Away from being a lawyer, I'm also a doctor of diplomatic study. Having said that, let's look at how he will survive, you're saying. If I'm to advise him, he should embark on trying to understudy some diplomatic antecedents. People like Otto von Bismarck. You need to study people, Niccolo Machiavelli. Yeah. You need to be diplomatically carried to navigate these muddy waters of survive and also achieve. Now, 2 things work for him.
Well,
now.
Don't you think?
Well, I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, before you get there, I'm trying to say something now. Now, the Nomelai said, if you talk, you die, or you don't talk, you die. Now you are going. You've done your first term. There's an opportunity to do something for your people. I agree, yes, there's some plans, and you don't have to tell them this is how it's going to be. You can create situations. That's what I'm trying to say. That's where diplomatic tendency needs to come in. If it had not been that, it's just been plain politics. This is a time you need to get people to think for you. Pragmatic. There's this, not before the Gorbachev man, there used to be a doctor, one media person who was speaking for Adolf Hitler. Yeah. And the word was
Joseph Goebbels.
Goebbels. He was speaking for him. A lot of people didn't know what was going on, why Hitler was busy doing that's what I'm talking about. For you to survive in this kind of situation, you need those kind of activities.
Yeah, but we're looking at a situation whereby interest will hold sway. Because whether you like it or not, the political parties that have come into governance with the ANC now, they have their own interests too. Yeah. Just like what Nowita Ibutake said, that the Democratic Alliance, they want to take over the economy.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. That's why I said the way to go, it's not political, it's diplomacy. There is diplomatic way. That's the with diplomacy. That's the way for him to survive. And again, you can also achieve so much by that. Because if you study the man I mentioned, Otto von Bismarck, why he dislodged Britain and France from Europe, and they banked to and pushed them out for their trade, activities. They were good friends, and they became enemies because he was the one that masterminded all of that. And he had the opportunity to structure Europe the way he wanted. So what I'm saying, he can apply the same principle. Because what we are seeing today is what have been done before. So it's for him to know what to do. It's not that he can't survive. That's what I'm trying to say. And he can still achieve close to 80% of his own wish, if he so wished to do that. Now, but is he ready to go that route?
Yeah, this knowing what to do now, because most analysts are already worried. I mean, let's take our minds back to the way he survived the scandal, the gate something. I was the name of the farm gate issue. I mean, whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, it was alleged that he had to bribe his way through. And now, for South Africa, one nation that most nations in Africa are looking up to in terms of political, prowess, political sanity, positivity, and all that. Now, for Cyril Ramaphosa to continue now, don't you think he's going to continue in that his character, trying to bribe his way through and all that? No, which yeah.
Well, Cyril Ramaphosa has displayed some political deftness in his first tenure. So that's a son of Niccolo Machiavelli. Who got all the politics of how to survive in practical politics. He was able to survive first term because that farm gate issue was really heavy on him.
Yeah.
And I think he knew how to play some games.
That's the angle we're talking about.
Yeah, but in playing some games, he has to put some characters, some experts, so that his policy can fly, even with the coalition government. That is what he's trying to say. You have to put some experts. Because we know the role Joseph Goebbels, Dr. Joseph Goebbels played Hitler Nazism during the Hitlerism. Nazism. So, because you need to have some characters that will hold the government.
So which character are we looking up to now? Because Cyril Ramaphosa was a character himself. I mean, the ANC could vouch for him, and that was why.
No, we're not talking. Sorry, I don't know. I don't have
surviving the coalition. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah. So which character are we looking at? Where would the character come from?
Yeah,
they are there with them in South Africa.
The ANC.
They may be out anywhere. They may be experts. And
so what he has to do is for him to look at personalities, experts that can fly with him as he flies in this coalition arrangement. Because he has to up his game from his first tenure. First tenure, he was alone doing, almost 60% in parliament. He had his way and things like that. But now, he's no longer popular. The popularity has been deflated massively for the first time in 30 years. So he has to put on his taking cap. He had to find a way, because for me, the other parties are not two issues. They don't go 4%, in Kotowe's way, the other one. Democratic Alliance is a very strong opposition. They've been there, white-dominated political party. They've been controlling the economy. And the racial issue is going to be a turbulent matter in this coalition. So that is where Ramaphosa had to bring all his arsenals,
yeah,
expertise, in terms of putting the ramp pegs in ramp holes. And unfortunately, because I am a realist, unfortunately, the coalition agreement, it doesn't have veto power.
There are terms.
He has to consult.
So the terms of agreement.
He has to consult the DA and the rest guys for certain things to fly. So, well, for me, looking at South Africa, I think it's a win-win for the black majority, so to say.
Really?
When I say win-win,
yeah,
because it was a chunk, a guy who used to be in the ANC.
Now you talk
Jacob
about
Zuma.
we understand Jacob Zuma's
The role he played. He depleted.
But let's look at the DA now, the Democratic Alliance now. A while ago, you said that the Democratic Alliance has always pursued the interests of the whites.
Opposition.
Opposition of the whites and all that. And here again, you are saying it's a win-win for the blacks?
Yes, because, I say win-win, because Ramaphosa is still president.
Yeah, but even if
what
he's
would
not
have
president...
at least the ANC is still in power. Despite the bitterness of Jacob Zuma, Jacob Zuma is bitter. He fell out.
You mean Jacob Zuma?
Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
He fell out from the ANC arrangement. I said, you guys, I will show you. And he has shown them pepper. So I say, when I say win-win for the blacks, this Ramaphosa is still president, and he has, as you use your word, he has to put on his arsenals, his expertise, to be able to survive. But I don't see the economy improving. I'm a realist. Because the economy could not improve while he was alone. I don't see how you want to convince the adherents of Democratic Alliance for them to let go the economy. They are already...
For them to let go their own interests. Yeah.
The racial thing is an issue. It's a turning matter in this coalition. So it will take we'll be coming someday to discuss the matter. It will take the grace of God for Ramaphosa to survive. If he will not even, because if it will go as it goes, if a vote of no confidence, it will not even come in as we go. So you have to be very careful. Okay. That's why I like his analysis. He went to Otto von Bismarck. Remember the role he played in 1885, 1886. He led
the Berlin Conference. Yes.
All those things. He had played Europe. They call it the Iron the Iron Minister.
The Iron Chancellor.
The Iron Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck. I know what he's saying. Yeah. So he has to bring some brains into his cabinet. His kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
Because in this kind of coalition agreement, he has to have a very strong kitchen cabinet who can make it to survive. Okay, now, gentlemen, we'll be going off quickly for a short break at some few minutes from now. Now, with Patrick Awosage, Barrister Patrick Awosage now. Let us talk more on the integrity of the ANC, because must they remain in power? Do they have to remain in power? I mean, what do you think they are trying to prove? I mean, with Cyril Ramaphosa, they passed the first term, started from Jacob Zuma, they've really not done well in terms of corruption and all that, in terms of allegations and all that. So do you think they have to do all that they are doing and to remain in power? What do you think is going on?
Well, the issue of corruption could be redefined properly. Because when we say corruption, I don't want to cast aspersion because I try to be very careful in talking. Because you see,
there are no allegations against
I'm not
ANC's,
talking. I understand perfectly all you're saying.
Yeah.
I know the allegation. You know, it's like it's all about what I'm trying to say. Those things are coming out because somebody is fanning the embers into flame. That's what you should look at. You see, the white guys are smart. They push you there, they put you around, and then they open some, kind of warm around you, and the people start talking about that to deflect you. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. They won't talk about themselves. If we come back home in Nigeria today now, we know what's going on with our crude oil. But there are things you don't talk about. But we keep talking about oil theft, indigents, opening the pipelines, there are thieves. How about those guys that are doing stuff around? Nobody talk about that. So these are questions you should be asking. So what I'm basically saying is Cyril is being, Jacob Zuma, these guys were brought out where they kind of warm around, they open it so that the world will say, oh, look at what they're doing. We don't want them again. Push them aside. So that the agenda could sail on. When there's crisis in every region, especially in black nations, who is gaining? Who is benefiting? That's what you should be asking yourself. The loot set funds, where are they going to? They only have their returning loot. The guy that took the loot, what was he called? We don't have a name for him. So these are some of the things we should begin to ask ourselves as a nation and as a people. So I'm not looking at what Cyril Ramaphosa have done and all of that. I'm looking at, look, they will tell him, look, if you push this way, we're going to expose you more, we're going to do this, we're going to get you down and all of that. So you are tormented every day while you try to fight for your people. Your people are not saying you are a thief. The people, the other side, they say he's a criminal. And then you're not left between the devil and the deep blue sea. You're just, you caught in the middle. I think that is the strategy. That's why I said, what he needs is superior diplomatic play out. You need to work it out. I don't know if he has such strength in his mind. I know he's president. He's not to be there. There are people that control the seats of power.
I mean, since he couldn't do that in first,
that's basically.
What is the guarantee now that he will be able to do it in second?
It's not just to be there, but to be relevant. Posterity is what we're talking about.
Saying he was not relevant in his first
I was there. I saw some of the things that
relevance now is more at risk.
It doesn't. I agree with you. What I'm saying, there are certain things you need to do for your people. You know, a man was in prison for 27 years. He came out. He started something. At least we saw a black man becoming president. That's in the person of.
He did just one term.
Yeah, but no, it's not the time. If I want to judge, I want to celebrate Mandela. I wouldn't say he did so much, in my opinion. I love Mandela. I wore his clothes, and everybody will stand by you. Go to South Africa, just call Mandela. Everybody's with you. Yeah. You know, but that's not the issue.
I'll start with Nwita Egbutaku now. Now, the ANC that we saw during the time of perhaps somebody like Nelson Mandela, it was an institution that was bigger than whoever they brought up as the president. But after that, we started seeing characters bigger than the ANC and all that. You want to shed light on it, Nwita Egbutaku?
That's that. Given the historical antecedent that happened in South Africa, the ANC, given the apartheid madness, the Boers, you know, the ANC was one big family. You're absolutely correct. Everybody came together to ensure apartheid was defeated. And before you know it, Nelson Mandela was thrown up. And it was a universal leader. And just as we have said, Nelson Mandela did not do more than just one tenure. Probably because of his age, probably was going Senai or something. He left his
philosophy. Let's leave it there. Yeah.
I'm sure his philosophy.
It's more of his philosophy.
Because if some greedy guy will have still continue, but at least it's a plus for him. So Mandela left, and Thabo Mbeki came in, and a fantastic president too. But don't deny made mistakes.
Corruption.
Which became an issue that tore the ANC into shreds. I use the word shreds. For a party that was so united, closely knitted, in 1994, that produced a Nelson Mandela. About 10 years later or thereabout, the Thabo Mbeki was now one of the biggest storms. We know how he left. You saw that the people of no community have passed on him. He had to leave.
He left in shame.
He left in shame.
Yeah.
For a Jacob Zuma. Look at what befell Jacob Zuma. Corruption issue.
He left in shame too.
He left in shame. And just as I said when I began, it is a tragedy that the ANC in 30 years could not promote the interests of the black people enormously. For a democratic alliance to still be controlling the economy, it's a tragedy. I'm telling you. The whites still dominate the economy. Telling us the blacks that they stay in slums, impoverishment of the highest level. Yeah, it's a minus for the leaders that came after Mandela. It's a minus. It's a terrible minus for a Cyril Ramaphosa. If Ramaphosa was fantastic in his first tenure, would there be a Jacob Zuma who said, no, we cannot go with you? We will answer our father's names. That's what Jacob Zuma said. Say, we will answer our father's name. And he has. he has made himself one of the greatest politicians that have come out of South Africa. And I think it's something that could be recommended, what Zuma did in South Africa. For Nigerian politicians, for instance. Because Zuma said, okay, you are not doing what we expect you to do, we will show you at the polls. And because of Zuma, that tore the majority votes of ANC.
Yeah, but are you really sure? Because the ANC has not fared well.
We saw Zuma,
the economic
Zuma played a very negative role too. The vote that would have come to the ANC was diverted. So Ramaphosa is trying to play, to come back to your question, try to play bigger than his institution. And so far he has succeeded. Because he has, for him to have survived that farm gate issue in the parliament, he employs some tactics, which he has mentioned. Nicolo Machiavelli, some tactics that maybe so survived in the parliament. He would have been thrown out, but he was able to settle, you know what we mean? Negotiation, concessions, and all that. And that will show that the leaders of the African National Congress, they disappointed the people.
They've compromised.
They compromised.
Yeah.
That's the fact of the matter.
Yeah.
They compromised. So Zuma, you can see him when he was being sworn in, he was happy. Oh, I'm still president. You know?
Now,
Given the challenges. Because probably he did not expect that they will come back.
Okay, let me pause you there. Now, Barrister Osai, perhaps you may have a different opinion now on how the ANC lost the election, because just as what Nwita Butako said, that Jacob Zuma, vowed that he was going to, because he was ousted, he vowed. But do you really think that it was because of Jacob Zuma, or for the fact that the ANC, I mean, we're all living witnesses for the past 6-7 years, how the economy of South Africa has gone comatose, the issues of xenophobia and all that. So don't you think these were the issues that South Africans reacted to?
I agree with you. We can also wish away the fact that Zuma also pulled a stunt there. It may not just be him. All these factors put together necessarily have brought about the result he got. So that's basically what it is. So it's not a man to say, I did it. It's not an issue of a one-man show. It's these factors that have come together. Like I did said, I'm not looking at all of this. Somebody's pulling the string somewhere. There are tacticians working against the government. You said that Mandela, honorable man. Yes, he was already weak. A man had lived in his prison for 27 years. I was even wondering that he had even suffered dementia while he was president. He was just happy, just like liking our president, a father figure. That's not leadership in that sense of it. It's just like an elderly man, elder statesman talk.
That's what we narrow it to. That's what Africa, father figure.
Yes, father figure. Okay.
Whereas in other parts of the world, they look at the leadership figure.
You remember something happened in Nigeria too, when we had the president of Obasanjo. I'm talking of when he came in as a democratic president, having survived the death row sentence. Baba was flying everywhere. I forgot that the presidency is about,
leadership.
When he came back, it was in the torso. When he realized himself that things are not going to be, so I think that is what played out in the Mandela thing. Now, we need to, Africans should unite like Bob Nestor Marley had said. They should look away from this many talk of corruption, English, those words like Nicola will tell you, all those talk is English talk, is white people's talk. Let me talk like Malema now. It's about their talk. They are the one trying to, call you names. You look inward. Look at your people. Look at your brother, your skin color. Look at what is happening to them. So it's not a matter of whether they're white. Those guys, they are made. They are living well. You see where they stay. You can't even compare. It's just like where your cockroach, where they live, or where you allow them to get to.
You mean the white
minority? Yes, they're living. I'm telling you, everything is still the same way. So that's what we are talking about. So you cannot continue like this. So they are just using policies and strategies to see whoever comes on board. They will allow him come. You just be the black guy, but we'll be the one running the economy. And that's basically the problem. So we are talking about who becomes president. They are not looking at that. You can keep the presidency to yourself. While we own the whole investment, we manipulate the system, we tell you what to do. Whoever becomes leader, if you are not there, we set you up, we know how to get you in, and then we push you aside. Now, this man is happy now that I'm president again. Is that what you are going to tell afterwards when you leave?
It appears the whole thing boils down to neo-colonialism that we'll be talking about in Africa.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, as I just said, how many centuries of apartheid? You know, during the apartheid struggle, the Western nation, they supported apartheid.
Oh yes, they did.
Forgotten?
They were supporting, and they're also supporting now. That long.
The White House, 10 Downing Street, the Elysee Palace, France. They were all conspirators.
Yes.
They solidified apartheid for so long. We know the history. We went through school. We are experts in conflict resolution. They supported apartheid to the end. They made apartheid to last. So now, those who are controlling the economy, they still hold the string.
They're pulling it.
And talking of economic policies and all that, they relate with the Western world. Just unfortunate that the leadership of the African National Congress, they've not allowed this war to pull out of their face. That they may be in power, but they're not really in power. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Political power is different from economic power.
Economic power is higher.
The day they control the economy of South Africa.
That's it.
And as I said, that's going to be a storm in a teacup in this coalition government.
All right, so gentlemen, let's begin to, as we commence our descent now, let's begin to look at profile solutions to some ranging issues that have been on in South Africa. Yeah, I mean, for the past, I think it was about 7-9 years ago that xenophobia became an issue in South Africa. And that thing is still there.
Frustration.
Whether you like it or not, it's in South Africa. Yes. Under the very nose of the ANC. You know, the economy is bad. So with this coalition government now, will it herald the changes that South Africa needs as a nation, particularly outside it?
It will be difficult, truth be told. Very, very difficult. Like I said, away from politics. Now, looking at the economy and looking at those controlling the economy, they are the color people, the white guys. They own the investments, they own everywhere. Go to Durban, go everywhere, you know. They are in charge. Now, coming back home, you know, to say, well, this is what I want to do. They will, you know, will you not ask them to shut down their businesses? And, you know, will you utter their board and bring in your brothers, your color people? How will you do that? And there are certain things that already, there are certain areas the blacks are ostracized. You know, you can't even come, you can't own anything there.
In South Africa?
Yes, it's still dirty tomorrow. So, but we say, oh, there's no, okay, appetite is over. You cannot even go there. You can either be a cleaner or something, you know. You can't come around to sit with us. You know, no, it's not done. And that's what we are talking about. What will he do? Until the mindset of the people are changed, because they still see themselves as slaves. I pity Julius Malema. Listen to him carefully. You see, he's reacting. He's not actually saying anything. He's actually speaking from pain.
Yeah, reacting.
And that's not how to lead. You know, he's not saying, you see, even in the interview, he's insulting them because he saw his mother being flogged, stripped naked in her room. A white man flogged her, pulled her clothes. And he saw that as a boy. How can this happen? So you don't have regard for whether you're a woman or not. So who are you? You're just like one of those animals, you know.
Now,
okay. So to provide solution, like you're saying solution.
What would this government do? That's the question.
What will the government do? The government could do little or nothing, truth be told, like I said. It's unfortunate. If they have to start putting their house together, now there are pockets of wars among them. They have to start calling themselves together and start orientating them, but with the kind of, you know, coalition we have now, it will not give that room. He had the opportunity in the first term. He couldn't do that. Is it now that you have these shenanigans around you? So it will be difficult. It's like a man at the, you know, on his deathbed. What will he be doing with his companies and all of that? That's where he is now. Because they are going to follow him closely. Every move diplomatically, they are, you know, He is celebrating. That's the usual way the black man celebrates. That I'm here in the office, I'm sitting down. Oh, you are there. You are there, and so what? We don't care about you being there. All the policies that we fought, they use them to attack everything he's going to do. So it's just going to be, I don't believe in saying God will help him. I don't believe in that. If you don't prepare well, God's help will not come. I think that's how I see it.
There are some school of thoughts that are probably looking at it differently now, that perhaps this coalition is what South Africa really needs now, because for them, they see that, I mean, since South Africa as a nation has really not been together, so there has to be a coalition government. So, I mean, different political interest groups now coming together to form a government. So can that unity, you know, as an entity now in governance now, can we see it in the people, whether the white minority, the black majority in South Africa?
There's no unity anywhere. I'm a realist. There's no, in politics, there's no sentiment. It's just like international relations. It's permanent friend, permanent interest. Those parties, they have their interest. They have their interest. The smaller parties, they have their interest. Just as we said, it's unfortunate that while Cyril Ramaphosa had all the time. And let's not forget the character of the Cyril Ramaphosa. Where is he coming from? He came from the trade union. He's a child from the trade union. When the Nelson Mandelas, when they were in Robben Island, when the Water Sisulus were struggling, when named Chris Hani, he was in the trade union. That's why he built his political base.
I mean, one would have thought as an activist,
he would have done something.
Why didn't he?
He has the trade union under his control. But Cyril Ramaphosa chose not to do that. The trade union, he was Secretary General South Africa Coatu one thing. We know his
antecedents.
Yeah, antecedent. So Ramaphosa, it was the trade union that shut him up. But in 5 years, he didn't do the needful. He didn't lead the ordinary black guy from the ghetto with such majority in parliament. Just as I said, there's little hope. We have to be realists.
Okay. Now, gentlemen,
we just pray that some magic
will happen. All right, so gentlemen, let's quickly also look at one of the recent issues now, whereby we saw, you know, Russia became an interest factor in South Africa towards the twilight of the end of the ANC in the first term of Cyril Ramaphosa. Now that we have a coalition government now, so are we going to see that? Will it continue? I was arguing.
And that's it. You see, that's why we are where we are. Because the coalition are also being aided and funded from somewhere.
From the Western.
So you should understand the bipolar structure, how things work. When you are here, we are there. You know, they're watching on them. So they use the coalition to be acting as though.
The Russian interest is nowhere Western. I mean, the Russian interests have their own interest too.
Their interest is so-called Western. Now, the Western folks and their interests will be channeled through the coalition.
Oh, really?
That's how it works. They won't tell you that, but we know what's going on. That's how it's going to work.
All right, so Nwita, you want to talk on to?
Well, given the history of South African struggle, it was expected that the leaders of the National Congress, they would tour the land of Moscow because they were there for the freedom fighters, the ANC, and where the journey lasted. So it is understandable.
Yeah, now that we have a coalition government, this is the question. I mean, we have different superpowers coming together.
So that's it.
It's now the box stop on the table, Cyril Ramaphosa.
Really?
Yeah, as I said, he has to play some magic. He has to conjure some political abracadabra to put the coalition members and say, hey, gentlemen, you know, these are our guys. They fought for us. Don't throw them away right now. But these are some of the things that will come to play. So I don't say Ramaphosa, you know, in the middle, trying to beg and beg and beg.
But that's just it.
And let things be done. He cannot assert the authority.
While you are begging, status quo remain.
Yeah, he remain.
Status quo remain.
The veto.
That's what they have taken from him.
Vetoing.
That's
Groups,
what.
they will veto him.
Simple.
So
Now,
it's
gentlemen, are there lessons that we can learn? Because so far we've discussed that Cyril Ramaphosa had at the time, you know, he had the government, he had his political party, the ANC in government for the past 5 years, and he couldn't do much. So now that he has different political parties coming together now, need to wonder what he can really do. So are there lessons that other African leaders can probably learn from this? I will say again.
Well, lessons we should learn. Don't play with time. Don't joke. When you have opportunity, make good use of it. You know, when he came on board, the way the people loved him and, you know, he came on board, he blew that opportunity. And now, it's too late to cry when the head is off. So that's basically what he's faced with now. So the lesson, the major lesson, time. You know, whatever has a beginning will always have an end. At the time he started, if he had carried on and did the needful then, all of this would not be happening today. So I think the great lesson there is we shouldn't waste our time and we should do the needful on time.
No, wait 30 seconds quickly.
I think what Cyril Ramaphosa should do is to put on his thinking cap and retrace his steps, because he has missed his steps. Go back to his people. Try and reconcile with Zuma and Co, so they can have a fuller, so that in the next elections, they will have a majority, so that they will be able to rule, you know, without hindrance. But now there is hindrance. He should retrace his steps. He should try to build bridges for peace.
That's right.
Within the ANC. I'm sure if he approach Zuma and all that, they will come. Remember, these guys are our common enemy. But the whites are still there. So if he has to retrace his steps so that he can survive, the ANC can come back to where we were before.
All right, so gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you. Nowita Igbotako, Syria author, and of course an international conflict resolution expert on the program today, Africa Discourse. And big brother friend, barrister Dr. Patrick Awosage.
It's a pleasure.
If not for the fact that he's in Nigeria, and he's been to South Africa a couple of times, I would have been calling him in South Africa.
I'm not, I remain a Nigerian. I'm a Nigerian, I will remain a Nigerian forever.
So I want to say a very big thank you for
it's all a pleasure. Thank you very much for
having me. So that's the program today, Africa Discourse on Independent Television. My name is Evan Sunokuge. Same time next week, another edition will come your way. Bye-bye.